This is Learning the Ropes. Learning the Ropes. Presented by Costen and Hammer Productions. Now, on to the show with your host, Josh Hammer.
Welcome, everyone, to Learning the Ropes, a podcast that uses the game of baseball as a vehicle to learn about a variety of other topics to improve personal development and to better understand the perspectives of those around us. I'm your host, Josh Hammer, the voice of Costen and Hammer Productions. Thank you so much for checking out our podcast, wherever you may be, as we are all practicing social distancing. First, I want to introduce our co-host with us once again, co-founder of Costen and Hammer Productions, chief growth officer of Psycho Cider, filmmaker, professor, and in this case, an ex-basketball coach. And that's why it's important to note, because we are going to be talking about the game of basketball with a legend, as some would say, as many would say, in my opinion. Tobin Costen, welcome, and thank you for being my co-host once again.
What's up, Hammer? Baby, I'm feeling real good. I'm feeling real fly. I'm feeling insanely good. But today is the special day because we have a special guest, my friend, my guy. So, man, without further ado, please introduce our guest, man. Please.
Oh, well, with us today, we have Coach Joe Haigh, currently serving as an assistant coach for Siena College out in New York. After spending the past decade plus at St. Francis University in Pennsylvania. So he was, not only is he the second winningest coach in program history with, 93 victories, but he led the Red Flash to multiple postseasons in 6 years and went on to national postseason tournament appearances over his 6+ seasons at the helm for the Red Flash. So with us today, once again, I want to proudly introduce Coach Joe Haigh. Thank you so much for taking your time to be here.
Joe Haigh, baby.
Thank you, guys. Thanks for having me. Thanks for
Absolutely.
Yeah, we apologize for our insanely good energy, but that's just how we welcome our guests.
I have a hard time. I'll have a hard time matching that. I'm a low-key dude.
So I've heard, but I'm going to let Tobin kind of kick off our first question with us today, being that it is around energy and low key. I know that you all know each other from somewhere. Could you maybe shed some light on that, Tobin?
Yes, I know Coach Haigh from Gonzaga University. We went to school together for 1 year before he transferred on. And the interesting thing is I remember Joe being up so late studying all the time while I was traipsing around campus. He always had his notebook with him and taking notes and everywhere. So it's so good to actually talk to Joe Haigh. And, Coach, I just want to know, how did you go from that background? You went to Gonzaga, you transferred, you still were playing basketball, you went over to Notre Dame, you started working for your family's business, Baden, and then moving into sports. So why don't you talk about your time at Baden, and then when you decided that, hey, I've got so much energy around basketball, let me move into coaching or let me move into athletics.
All right. Well, we knew each other. We were big into basketball as freshmen back then. And if we weren't playing it, we were talking about it or arguing and fighting about it and all that good stuff. So,
yes.
that was the thing that I loved the most. Most of my time growing up. So when I left, I ended up leaving Gonzaga to go to junior college, play basketball for a year, and finally realized at that point that I wasn't going to be good enough to be a Division I player or an NBA All-Star in my future. And I ended up transferring to Notre Dame after that, and graduated with an accounting degree. Went back to the Seattle area. And, like Tobin said, I was working for a family business there, working in the accounting department. And, that's kind of where I thought my life was going to go all along. I just wanted to be like my dad, working the family business. And that was what I was going to do. And so as I'm working there, I had a younger brother that's 16 years younger than me. So at the time I was coming out of college, he's, first, second, third grade. So he got started playing basketball, and they asked me to coach. So I started with his team as fourth grade boys. and
Wow.
just came in as a coach, and I was coaching a group of 4th grade boys in Puyallup, Washington, and kind of worked up every year with that group, with that team. We got to 9th grade. They went off to high school, and at that time, I was able to get an assistant coaching job at the local high school. So I love being around basketball. I love coaching more than I like sitting at the desk doing my job.
Yeah.
So, I was lucky. I was able to, so I got an assistant job, and, I changed my work schedule so I could get out at about 2:15 and go to practice and go to games. I'd go in early, go to work early, or come back to work late. And spent a year as an assistant there and at Thomas Jefferson High School in Federal Way, Washington, and just loved it. Seeing the change that happens in kids when you meet them in October. Like for me and the head coach, we were a new program, so we were new coaches. So I didn't even meet kids until like October, right before practice started.
Oof. Yeah.
Wow.
And a difference in a bunch of high school seniors and what a team becomes from that point until mid-February at the end. I love that. And so I just, at that point, I decided I had the rest of my life to sit in a cubicle and be an accountant. So I was able to, I decided I'd go off and try and become a college coach. So as part of that, I left Washington. At the time, we had my wife and I had 3 young kids.
Wow.
So this is really a hard thing to do. So we walked away from, stable accounting job and a career to move across country. I went to Richmond, Virginia. I got into grad school there. So I took a year off with no income, being a grad student, took out loans. We lived in a little apartment. And I got a master's degree, started working in coaching. I was able to spend a year as a grad assistant with the men's program at Randolph-Macon College in Richmond, Virginia. It was just a great experience for me. The head coach there was Mike Rhodes, who is now the head coach at VCU. So needless to say, I learned a ton there, and I also learned what I didn't know. So many people, before they get involved in college coaching, at that point, I'd already coached for like 6-7 years.
Right.
Coaching club, AAU, I played it all my life, watched all the stuff on the media, watched ESPN all the time. So like everybody else, I know all about coaching. I went into like the first practice as a grad assistant at the Division III school, and it was mind blowing. Like I didn't know anything compared to what was going on there. So
wow, that's incredible. I think about there's a lot of grad assistants. I was a grad assistant in sports information, game management, marketing at a small Division II level. But what I think is also a notable part of your story isn't just not only were you navigating through that experience as essentially a full-time assistant, but categorized as a grad assistant, but you also were raising a family at the same time. And then on top of that, for you to propel through your career and leave the legacy that you did, in my eyes, is one of the most inspiring and incredible stories I've heard from any coach. So yeah, the fact that you are coming on here to share that with us is awesome. So I appreciate it. Just getting to know you just this little bit, for me, it's also inspiring. I really like what you had to say about, you got to take that risk. You got to leave that cubicle to go get what you want. Every experience is, an experience. It's your experience, not somebody else's, and they shouldn't be telling you what your experience is. As an educator and a coach, I try to preach that to my students and student athletes. And I think it's an easier said than done, but it can be done. So I think that's kind of the power in just what you were sharing with us. I also wanted to talk about not only, your story of what led you to coaching and how you kind of fell into a groove. There's a lot of ups and downs. You go from, like you just mentioned, for your case, it was like late October, but it's regular women's basketball season, right? I would assume from September all the way through February. And then, of course, there's the off season. But particularly, you brought such a unique style of offense. And, coming from baseball, I think you talk about like energy, up tempo. I'm a huge dugout fanatic. Like I'm the guy that's yelling on, screaming and yelling, keeping the energy going. But I know
Especially
on
in those
basket,
tights.
we don't talk about that. We don't talk about
Okay.
that.
We don't want to talk about tights, but go ahead. I'm sorry, Hammer.
Oh, it's okay. That's why you're my co-host. You can share the good stuff from time to time. To that point, not from the tights. I don't think you did that coaching. That would just be a tragic. Well, maybe depending on the fan audience. But all jokes aside, I just was wondering if you could shed light a little bit of why you brought your style of offense and how effective it was. But the tempo that you brought on the floor, you brought it at a certain time in basketball when it wasn't popular. So I was just wondering if you could maybe shed some light on that.
Yeah, thanks for asking. Back when old people like me and Tobin were around, one of the biggest stories in college basketball was Loyola Marymount with Paul Westhead, and having a little Catholic school in the WCC that at the time I'd never heard of them. And then they end up going to the NCAA tournament. And the one year that they're most famous, they knocked off Michigan, who was a defending national champion. And like, how did that team, and they're run and gun, they're running up and down, they were playing like nobody'd ever seen before. And it really captured the country at that time as a great story. And then the other, one of the other big time stories that I remember was when Princeton upset UCLA. You had two models of small schools that were able to beat major teams. And the common denominator is doing something different. Is playing a different system, different style. And Princeton was a slow down ball control, take a great shot at the end of a shot clock. Loyola Marymount was super up tempo. So when I took over at St. Francis, we had a lot of success in the program, and we had success when I was an assistant. We were, in my 4 years as an assistant, we went to the championship game 3 times, and we won 2 of them and went to the NCAA tournament. So we were pretty good at the time, but in the changeover, then when I became head coach, at the time, it was like, why change anything? We're successful at what we're doing. But I wanted to do something different, and I wanted our players to feel special and feel like we were doing something different. So beyond just winning and then going to a tournament and getting beat by the team with more talent, I wanted us to someday have an opportunity to pull an upset like that, to compete, to do something that our talent says that we shouldn't do, as risky as that might be. So, and then I also wanted to build something that I thought that was fun. I think the marketing of something to make it desirable, to make people, I wanted people to notice St. Francis, first of all, beyond our small kind of geographic area. And I wanted it to be something that was kind of cool that people might want to come to and be a part of, something that was different. And so Loyola Marymount, that was the model to begin with. That was Paul Westhead. So we were going to press, and then we also had personnel that fit that at the time. We had a player that I felt like was our equivalent to a Bo Kimball and a Hank Gathers, and we had a great point guard, we had a great shooter, and we had a great power forward and who could defend and move. So we had the pieces. And then I discovered this Grinnell system, the Division III school out in Iowa. And they got some media attention, and that was because they were leading the country in scoring. They were starting to score well over 100 points a game. And, so at the time I started thinking that, here we are in the middle of nowhere, Pennsylvania, at a real small school. What if a Division I women's basketball program started scoring 110 a night, or 115 a night, or 120 a night?
Yeah.
Why couldn't, why wouldn't we get noticed eventually and possibly, get into the big major media markets. Like that's an interesting story. So that was kind of the genesis of it. And so then I started trying to push to play at a higher tempo. And then I felt like it, and then it provides more opportunities for players. It's higher scoring. It's more fun. We were able to get, I played walk-ons. I was able to get a lot of different personnel in. I think it's inclusive. We weren't playing 6 different kids with a bunch of others was sitting on the bench every game. Mm-hmm. Participation was big. There were a lot of good reasons to do it.
Did that help you with recruiting, Coach? Like, did that help you with recruiting, saying, hey, we're going to run this up-tempo offense. We're going to move. There might be an opportunity for you to get some minutes in other programs you might not be able to because of the system?
Well, yes. It can help you and it can hurt you because of the traditionalist coaches would kind of negative recruit and, don't go to St. Francis. Don't go play in that style. You're not going to play, come to us and you'll play 38 minutes a game. Go there, subs you too quick. You only play, our best player. I had, in my 6 years as a head coach, we had 3 different players finish in the top 2 or 3 in the country in scoring.
Wow.
And in 1 year, player averaged 25 and a half a game, and she only played like 29 minutes a game.
Wow, that's efficient.
So yes. So we were, so it did help. Eventually, toward the end, we were able to draw transfers. All of my players in 6 years, any senior that graduated that wanted to continue playing college at a professional level somewhere in the world, everyone that wanted to was able to sign a contract.
Wow.
And these are kids that came to St. Francis that weren't Division I recruits. Our players, for the most part, didn't have D1 offers, or they transferred from another school where they weren't getting minutes and shots and stuff. So, so we were able to get them numbers. They were able to get signed and play at, for a year or two somewhere overseas and at least have that experience, and I think it builds confidence in players. And we were able to develop a program where, in my last year when we won our championship, and we played UCONN in the tournament, our players, I felt like our players went into that game and instead of playing like scared little kids, I felt like our players played loose, confident, aggressive. I thought that we didn't play the scoreboard. I thought we competed, and to come from a little, low cornfield trees in Pennsylvania to go play against the premier program in the country, and to be able to do that with some form of self-confidence, that's really what it was all about. For us at St. Francis. So
let's talk about you guys playing UConn, because you were on, major media for obvious reasons, because you guys lost by quite a bit. I know going into that first half, you had a huge deficit. I don't know if you're down by 50 points or more. And what did you talk to the athletes about? What did you talk to the ladies about going back out in the second half to try to, make a game of it, if you will?
Yeah, we were at halftime, we were down 94 to 39 or something, 37. We were down 50, 60. That we had our halftime score was what UConn was beating people by in 40 minutes normally. And if I had played a different playing style, the score, that might have been the game score, the final game score. So the halftime talk with the team was actually pretty easy, because the process starts before that. We knew when we won our championship game, we were hoping that we might get a procedural bump and get bumped up and maybe get a 15 seed and play, one of these other 2 teams. But we knew it was pretty likely that we were going to get in and play UConn. So the night that the tournament's announced, you have a post, the bracket comes out, we have a team meeting in the locker room, and we talked at that point about, how do we approach this? How do you guys want to approach this NCAA tournament game? I could have walked in and said, hey, I'm the head coach, this is what we're going to do. But I felt like it was real important to have everybody in the locker room kind of on the same page. What do we want to do? He said, because I told him we have a couple choices. We can play it, the way that we played the championship game, which was more traditional, style game, or we could go back to the beginning of the season when we were extremely up tempo and try and, you know, let it fly, try and score 100 points, like really show off what St. Francis is really about. And in the locker room, our players, you know, at first we're like, you know, yeah, we're going to go take them on. We'll go play UConn. We'll go try and outscore them. But I had to be realistic with them. I told them, like, at this point, if we go out there and we're going to press them the whole game and shoot threes and we miss them, we could actually give up 200 points, and their faces drop. Like, wow. You know, they didn't believe me, and I say, but you know, seriously, like, you know, we had played games before. We had played Notre Dame when Skylar Diggins was there, and they were going.
That's right. Yeah.
Every year. You know, we'd lose a game like 128-68 or something. I knew that UConn game was better, and the potential, like, they legitimately could have scored 200 if they wanted to, if things had, you know, if they had kept that same tempo. So, you know, explain that to our players. They said they wanted to go forward with it. We had a great senior who had transferred from Maryland, who had played against UConn, been on the bench when Maryland played in the Final Four. Knew how good UConn was, knew that we could possibly, you know, give up 200. And she was great, because she's like, we don't care. So our chances of winning, you know, guys, our chances of winning this is, you know, a lightning strike. Let's go out and have fun and play our style, no matter what happens. Let's go play what we've done all year and have fun with it. You know, so having that leadership in our locker room was awesome. So, you know, so we did that. So the next day I practiced like you have to practice to play that extreme up tempo, which is a lot more running than we were used to doing at the time. You know, we faced a little mini revolt. Like, you know, our players, they didn't want to run that fast. And what we did going into to play a game like that, to play that tempo, we would play short scrimmages with an 8-second shot clock.
Okay.
So you're flying up and down the court, and you do that for 2 minutes, and you're
gassed. Yeah.
So, you know, that was our practice over and over again, getting ready to play at that tempo. So, you know, our players weren't used to it, so they kind of backed off a little bit, and we had to have another team meeting. And it was like, you know, hey guys, what's going on? Why aren't we playing? You know, why you said you wanted to do this? Why aren't we? You know, our practices aren't. You know, and so we had to you just got everybody on the same page again. You know, they were like, you know, we don't want to run like this now, but we ended up doing it. And we knew going into the game. I think I had our team prepared for the risk of what could happen. You know, the plus side was that we were going to be trading threes for twos. We were going to, you know, hopefully not allow easy twos. You know, the hard part is anytime UConn missed a shot, you know, their big kids are, you know, 6'5", 6'6", 6'7", and some of the greatest athletes on the planet. And, you know, they're just jumping over us. So even when they miss, they're getting rebound putbacks. You know, but we were going to go in, we were going to try and get up 63-point shots and, you know, hopefully hit lightning in a bottle and make, you know, make 2/3 of them and go 40 for 60 and score 120 points. That was our chance to win. So by the time we actually got to the game and we're flying up and down and I'm walking off the floor and just looking at the scoreboard, it's like, holy crap, you know, 95-30 something. The halftime conversation, Tobin, is like, all right, guys, you know, now we got two choices. You know, are we going to keep doing this, or do you want to slow it down and, you know, try and play keep away and keep the score close? And, you know, our players were great. You know, the same ones were like, you know, basically, screw it, coach. We're here. We're going to keep playing, and we're going to keep, you know, let's keep doing what we do, and we'll show the country we're going to keep doing this. So we ended up, one of the goals of the game was to set the NCAA tournament record for 3-point attempts, and I think I think our players knew how important that stat was for me. That year we finished. That year we finished the season number 1 in the country in 3-point attempts per game, and I think 3-point makes per game. You know, so it was, so they were all on board. We went out, we did it, and then we had to face all the negativity after the game. But
so can you talk about that piece? So you talk to the team, you say, hey, what do you guys want to do? They say, hey, we're going to finish this thing off, coach. We're going to beat this record. You lose by a significant amount of points. And then you've got, you're facing off with Gino Auriemma, and then you're sitting there with the entire world talking to you about what happened. So talk about the negativity that you guys had to go through after that.
Oh man.
To do what I do as a coach, sometimes you have to have tunnel vision.
Right.
It was easy. It was easy up until the post game to be focused like on our team. Even leaving the locker room, we had a great year, great experience. The aftermath is a little bit tougher, because then you can you get a little bit more perspective, because you can see it from other people's point of view, and how it was uncomfortable for people to, watch the game on TV, to see the score. Like, how could you, we lost by 88 points. Like, how do you do that? But we got it from, TV, news.
Oh man.
We got stuff all over. Phone calls coming into our school president. A lot of it was. I was more worried actually at the time. I'm more worried about the comments about UConn and being bad for women's basketball, and I didn't want it to be seen as like an embarrassment to people who did not know women's basketball. Which it was. Right. If you're on the outside, you're like, oh, typical women's basketball. UConn destroyed this bum school who shouldn't have been there, and all that. And
yeah, it's about perspective for sure.
Yeah, but on the, that was the main thing. The biggest thing for me was trying to get out to anybody who, would actually take the time to talk to me and get our perspective. Like, UConn did nothing bad to, they weren't bad for basketball. They played the game, and they played the game the way that you should. They were trying to do the best they could every possession, and we did that also. Like, our team played hard until the end. Like, we continued to press. We continued to play hard. We played with confidence. We took shots. We just missed them. And UConn was better. And, that's the message that I'm hoping that people got from it at the time, was that, no matter who we were St. Francis, we played hard. We competed. We just weren't good enough that day. And, that, I think that's important.
Yeah. One of my strongest, principles of not just coaching, but education or higher education is the whole thing about the student athlete experience. So the experience, the unique experience that they have in their programs. And to me, basketball or sports in general, right? It's what you do off the court too, and the character and integrity that you have off the court. And I think what's unique about your story and the program is I just hearing that story blows my mind. It just fires me up. I get goosebumps because, everyone that was in that locker room with you from the start of September all the way through that moment know that those ups and downs are more than just that experience at the end with UConn. There's so much more that goes into that season, the blood, sweat, and tears that they put in. That is something that I don't think anyone could take away from anyone. And I think St. Francis and women's basketball in general is so much better for it that you stuck to your guns and led with integrity and character. But that's just me hearing that story fully. So thank you for getting me hyped.
You're welcome. Or thank you. And we had some other good moments along the way in the program.
Absolutely.
We beat Wisconsin one year, 103-100.
Yeah.
We played Ohio State one year. We lost. We lost a game, but it was like 113-97.
Right.
At the time, at that season, Ohio State finished in the top 25. We only won 6 games. Like, we had no business competing. But we were able to go into big arenas at different times, we lost games by 60. We'd play Florida and Tennessee and, West Virginia and all these people. And we lost big, but there was always that chance that we get hot one day and score 103 and score and be able to knock off somebody that we shouldn't, and have fun doing it, because every roster played almost every game. In almost every game, everybody got in for a minute or two, if not more. So there was hopefully, we had a good time while we were doing it, I think.
Yeah,
good.
Yeah, one of the things about Harold Reynolds, Major League Baseball analyst, always said, if you're good, they will find you. And what I love about the St. Francis program is how you mentioned everyone went on to achieve their dream and take it to that next level, even further than that. And in any pro sports, right? In baseball, you have the minor league draft, and you play independent ball, and the list goes on. So, but I think that experience that they had at St. Francis, and then, where you're at now with Siena, it's really cool to just hear your story continue to unfold. As time is closing in on this episode, Tobin, do you have any further questions before we wrap up?
Well, I think one I have is, after you being at Siena and having that interview with Siena, did it come up? Did the UConn game come up, and how did you talk about that?
It did, and my boss is great, because there are a number of people in college basketball and coaching that kind of, I think, have this opinion. There were, for all the ones that didn't like it and had the negativity, there's a lot of others that, I still get calls now from people like that talk to me. What you did, you played your style and you stuck to what you did. And,
awesome.
You were true to yourself, what your team did. So regardless of and a lot of them say, take some form of courage / stupidity to
I'm going with courage, Coach. I'm going
courage. Yeah.
To play the game that way. But, the people who understand basketball or any sport, that was our team's identity. That was our program identity. It didn't make sense to, if I change it then, now people go through the rest of their lives. It was like, we believed in this thing all through the season, but then when we come to the kind of the biggest moment,
we change it up, right?
Walk away from it.
Yeah.
So that was kind of my boss at Siena, Coach Jacks. I think it was one of the ones that respected, having the craziness to do what we did and play the last game the way we did.
That's awesome. So I got one more question for you. What was your most fun moment with me hanging out when we were in school?
Oh boy.
And it doesn't have to be when we were at Gonzaga together. It could have been when you came back to visit, when we hung out, when I came to visit you, when you were in Puyallup, whatever it was. What is your most fun memory of us together hanging out?
We've known each other for so long, and
the only question he's speechless on.
I know, right?
Well, there's a reason for it, really, and there's not one moment that sticks out. It's a big jumble of, times are so different now with the way people are, and always having your phone by your side, like right here, ready to go. Yeah. We had different time back then. We didn't have TV we didn't have stuff going on all the time. So we go to class, we go eat, we go play ball, we'd come back to the dorm, and there was so much time just spent in a room, in a dorm room with like four of us, just clowning on each other. Each other, fighting each other, wherever, looking for some adventure, mostly looking for laughs. But, all of that stuff kind of blends together into, so if there's one moment to remember, it's more like all the moments, because there wasn't anything, if nothing was going on, we could still sit in a room and have a good time. We would create, fun.
Yes, I agree. Hey, you know what? Hey,
that's awesome.
When Haigh and Costen got there, the party just started.
Oh, okay.
So it didn't. I agree with you 100%.
We can find anything, So do you remember one moment? I'm not sure.
I'm with you. There were so many.
I got one.
Okay.
Ray McKee's car and going to eat, and the car breaking down in the middle of that 5-lane road.
Oh, yes.
And us having to push the thing home.
Yep. That was a funny moment. We didn't think it was funny at that moment, but we were pushing and we were like, what kind of car do you have, Ray? What are you doing? That was definitely a funny moment. That was one of those hilarious
money. So we went, and one day we had a guy that had a car that barely ran, and
oh shoot.
He took us to brunch, and
yes,
how many miles away from campus we were. There's 2 lanes going this way and that way, and a turn lane and a stoplight. And you tried, when you got his car running, you tried to not stop at a light or a stop sign.
Yeah,
couldn't call Uber either at that time, I guess.
No.
Okay.
No, there were no Ubers back then. There was no internet. There was no Uber.
Now
we had to stop at a stop sign, and the car died. And we're stuck in the road. We got 4 college kids, 4 freshmen, and so 3 of us had to push, and one of them had to steer, and we had to get the thing off. Cars coming flying at us, and we had to.
That just makes that meal even sweeter. It's like Harold and Kumar goes to White Castle, but better. Hagen making magic.
Yeah, we were. That's awesome.
And that's not fun, but we made it fun.
Yeah. We definitely made it. We definitely made it fun. We spent a lot of time together, and I'm so proud of you, Coach. All the things you've done. It's just interesting when you see all your friends go out into the world and do some fabulous things, and your story is still going. So hopefully we can get that Sienna's when the season gets back and we start back with basketball. You get Sienna to the championship, and then eventually when you've got your own program again, you're going to championships again. So keep up the great work, Coach. And I just want to say your wife is literally a saint for moving all the way across country and with 3 small kids with you to help you achieve your goal, dreams, and aspirations. So hats off to your wonderful, beautiful wife.
He said,
those are tough times, but you're right. That part's not easy.
He said, better words have not been said. Well, on that note, as we are sharing good stories and sharing the good vibes that we all kind of need, hopefully you got a couple laughs and also some motivation and inspiration as you tuned into this podcast, because I know that I did. And if you like what you heard, be sure to rate and review on Apple Podcasts and Spotify, or any platform for that matter that you listen to your podcast. And as always, be sure to like, subscribe, and turn on those notifications on our YouTube channel so you know exactly when the next Costen and Hammer Productions video
drops, baby.
And on that note, on behalf of myself, Josh Hammer Tobin Costen, Coach Joe Haigh, this has been Learning the Ropes.
Deuces.
Thanks.